The quantum array hummed beneath Rana Patel's fingers as she adjusted the final calibrations. 3 years of working at the Atacama Large Array had taught her to recognize every whisper of her instruments, but tonight something felt different. The desert wind carried an unusual stillness, and the star-filled Chilean sky seemed to watch with anticipation. "Anything interesting tonight?" Thomas Rodriguez, her research partner, called from his workstation. His voice echoed through the observatory's dome, competing with the gentle whir of cooling fans. "Same cosmic background radiation as always," Rana replied, though her eyes never left the quantum frequency monitor. Though. She trailed off as an unusual pattern caught her attention. The quantum signatures were unlike anything she'd documented before. Instead of the usual random fluctuations, these pulses followed a precise mathematical sequence, one that shouldn't exist naturally. Rana's heart began to race as she cross-referenced the pattern against known stellar phenomena. "Thomas, you need to see this." Her voice remained steady, masking the excitement building within her. As a quantum communications specialist, she'd spent her career searching for evidence of non-human intelligence. Now, staring at her monitor, she knew she'd found something extraordinary. Thomas wheeled his chair over, his usually casual demeanor shifting as he studied the readings. "That's impossible," he whispered. "These patterns, they're not random noise. They're structured," Rana finished. "Like a language written in quantum entanglement." She began typing furiously, capturing every detail of the signal. "But here's the strange part, the source isn't coming from deep space. It's coming from beneath us." The signal grew stronger as they watched, its patterns becoming more complex. Rana's instruments showed it emanating from somewhere in the Atacama Desert itself, as if something buried deep within the Earth's crust had suddenly awakened. "We need to alert the director," Thomas said, reaching for his phone. But before he could dial, every screen in the observatory flickered and went dark. The quantum array's hum changed pitch, rising to a frequency that made Rana's teeth ache. In the sudden darkness, Rana noticed a soft blue glow emanating from her hands. She held them up, watching in amazement as patterns of light danced across her skin, the same patterns she'd observed in the quantum signal. "Rana?" Thomas's voice held a note of concern. "Are you okay?" She couldn't answer. The light was spreading up her arms now, and with it came understanding. The signal wasn't just data, it was a key, and somehow, she had become its lock. Images flooded her mind, ancient machinery buried beneath the desert sands, a network of quantum-entangled sentinels placed around the globe, and a message of both warning and hope. "We need to get to these coordinates," Rana said, grabbing a piece of paper and sketching a series of numbers. Her hand moved with certainty, guided by knowledge that wasn't her own. "There's something out there, Thomas. Something that's been waiting for thousands of years." "Waiting for what?" he asked, staring at the coordinates she'd written. Rana looked up, her eyes reflecting the strange blue light that still coursed through her. "For someone who could understand its message. The Sentinels were left here by a civilization that knew they'd need humanity's help someday. And now." She stood, gathering her equipment with unexpected certainty. "Now they're waking up." As they drove through the desert night, following coordinates that led them deep into the Atacama's empty expanse, Rana felt the quantum patterns shifting within her. Each pulse brought new understanding, revealing glimpses of a universe far more complex and interconnected than humanity had imagined. They were heading towards something that would change everything, not just for her, but for all of humanity. The Sentinels had chosen their moment carefully, waiting for Earth's technology to advance enough to comprehend their purpose. Now, as the first light of dawn began to paint the desert horizon, Rana knew she stood at the threshold of a new chapter in human history. The signal grew stronger with each mile, calling her forward into an unknown future. Whatever waited beneath the desert sands, Rana Patel was ready to face it, not just as an observer, but as the bridge between two civilizations separated by eons of time and space. The Awakening Core. Dawn painted the Atacama Desert in shades of amber as Reyna and Thomas's vehicle approached the coordinates. The quantum signal pulsed stronger here, making the air itself feel charged with potential. Their headlights illuminated a circular depression in the sand, roughly 50 meters across, where the desert floor seemed to spiral inward like a frozen whirlpool. "The readings are off the charts," Thomas said, checking his portable quantum scanner. "Whatever's down there, it's becoming more active by the minute." Reyna stepped out of the vehicle, her boots crunching on the desert sand. The patterns of light beneath her skin had grown more intricate, forming complex geometric designs that shifted with each heartbeat. She could feel the presence below, calling to her with an urgency that transcended language. "There's an entrance point," she said, walking forward with unwavering certainty. Her feet traced a path across the spiral depression, guided by knowledge that flowed through her like water. The ancients built it to respond to quantum resonance. And now, she placed her glowing hand against the ground. The desert floor shuddered. Grains of sand began to flow away from the center point, revealing metallic panels that gleamed with an inner light. The panels shifted and realigned, creating a descending spiral staircase that led deep into the earth. "Reyna, wait," Thomas called, hurrying to catch up with her. "We should call for backup. The university, the government, someone needs to know about this." She turned to face him, her expression serene despite the extraordinary circumstances. "We can't wait, Thomas. The sentinel is awakening, and it needs a connection now. That's why it chose me." The staircase hummed with energy as they descended, each step illuminating as they passed. The walls were covered in flowing scripts that seemed to shift and change, telling stories in a language that existed beyond words. Reyna could almost understand them now, as if the quantum patterns flowing through her were slowly translating ancient knowledge into understanding. They reached a vast chamber hundreds of meters below the desert surface. At its center stood a towering cylindrical structure, its surface alive with streams of blue energy that matched the patterns on Reyna's skin. But it wasn't just a machine, it was alive, in its own way, a fusion of consciousness and technology that defied human classification. "It's beautiful," Thomas whispered, his scientific skepticism momentarily forgotten in the face of such wonder. Reyna approached the central column, drawn forward by an irresistible pull. "It's called the Nexus Core," she said, the knowledge flowing through her. "One of 12 placed around Earth by the architects. They knew their civilization was ending, but they wanted to ensure their knowledge wouldn't be lost." The core responded to her presence, its energy patterns intensifying. A voice filled the chamber, not in sound but in pure quantum information that translated itself directly into thought. "Guardian designate recognized," it said through their neural connection. "Initialization sequence beginning." Reyna placed her hand against the core's surface, and the world exploded into light. Information flooded her consciousness, star maps, quantum equations, the history of a civilization that had seeded the galaxy with their technology before their sun went nova. But most importantly, she saw their purpose. They were guardians, she gasped, overwhelmed by the scope of what she was witnessing. They protected developing civilizations from forces that would exploit or destroy them. And now, they've chosen humanity to carry on their legacy. The core's energy began to coalesce, forming a humanoid figure of pure light. It stood before them, 12 feet tall, its form shifting between solid and ethereal. This was the sentinel, the guardian that would bond with its chosen human to defend Earth and, eventually, help humanity take its place among the stars. "Thomas," Reyna said, her voice tight with emotion, "I need you to get word to Dr. Lakshmi at the Quantum Institute. Tell her to check the other 11 locations we mapped last month. They're all going to activate soon." "What about you?" he asked, though from his expression, he already knew the answer. "I have to complete the bond," she replied, turning back to the sentinel. "Earth needs guardians again. The architects saw something coming, something that made them create all of this. We have to be ready." As Thomas hurried back up the stairs, Reyna faced her destiny. The sentinel extended its hand, offering not just power but responsibility. Humanity would no longer be alone in the cosmos, but their next steps would determine whether they were ready for the role the architects had envisioned for them. The chamber filled with brilliant light as Reyna accepted the bond, her consciousness merging with ancient wisdom and power. Deep beneath the Atacama Desert, a new chapter in human evolution began, one that would reshape humanity's understanding of their place in the universe. Bonds of light. Time moved differently in the quantum realm. What felt like moments to Reyna as she merged with the Sentinel's consciousness stretched into hours in the physical world. She floated in an ocean of pure information, learning to navigate the storm of ancient knowledge that now flowed through her mind. The Sentinel, which she now knew as Meridian, guided her through the process with infinite patience. Its consciousness was vast yet focused, like a laser cutting through darkness. Together, they were becoming something unprecedented, neither fully human nor purely machine, but a synthesis of both. Your adaptation rate exceeds projections, Meridian communicated through their shared neural link. The architects chose well. Reyna opened her eyes, now glowing with the same ethereal blue light as Meridian's form. The chamber had become their training ground, where she learned to channel the Sentinel's quantum energy through her human frame. "Why me?" she asked, watching as threads of light wove between her fingers. "Out of everyone on Earth, why choose a quantum communications specialist from Chile?" "Your mind was already attuned to quantum frequencies," Meridian explained. "But more importantly, you possess what the architects valued most, the ability to see patterns in chaos, to find harmony in discord." Their conversation was interrupted by footsteps echoing down the spiral staircase. Thomas had returned, accompanied by Dr. Lakshmi Rao, head of the Global Quantum Institute. The renowned physicist stopped at the chamber's entrance, her eyes wide with wonder. "It's just as the other sites reported," Lakshmi breathed, her tablet displaying data streams from around the world. 11 more chambers, 11 more sentinels. "But you, Reyna, you were the first to achieve full integration." Reyna stood, her movements now carrying an otherworldly grace. The quantum energy that flowed through her had transformed her at the cellular level, making her both more and less than human. "Have the others found their guardians?" "3 so far," Thomas answered, scrolling through updates. "A meteorologist in Siberia, a marine biologist in the Mariana Trench, and a theoretical physicist in Antarctica. Each sentinel seems to be choosing humans whose work aligns with their specialized functions." Meridian's form shifted, creating a holographic display of Earth with 12 points of light pulsing in rhythm. "The network awakens," it said, its voice resonating through their minds. But time grows short. The threat the architects foresaw approaches. Reyna placed her hand against the core, accessing deeper layers of information. Through their shared consciousness, she saw it, a void moving between the stars, consuming light and life wherever it passed. The architects had named them the entropy tide, beings from a dying universe who sought to harvest the energy of living worlds. "How long do we have?" Lakshmi asked, reading the concern in Reyna's expression. "Months, maybe less," Reyna answered. "They're drawn to concentrated quantum energy signatures. By awakening the Sentinel network, we've essentially lit a beacon." She turned to face them, her eyes glowing with determination. But that was always the plan. The architects knew Earth would face this test eventually. They left us the tools to fight back. Through their bond, Meridian showed her visions of possibilities, Earth's Sentinel network forming a quantum shield, humanity learning to harness energies they had barely dreamed of, and a future where Earth stood as a beacon of hope in a dangerous cosmos. "We need to accelerate the awakening," Reyna said, her voice carrying new authority. "Each sentinel brings unique capabilities to the network. Meridian specializes in quantum field manipulation, but will need all 12 functioning at full capacity to have a chance." Dr. Lakshmi nodded, already typing commands into her tablet. "I'm coordinating with research stations worldwide. We're implementing your quantum integration protocols at all sites." "But Reyna." She paused, looking up with concern. The human body wasn't designed to channel this much quantum energy. The transformation you're undergoing, we don't know the long-term effects. Reyna smiled, feeling Meridian's reassuring presence in her mind. We're not just preparing for a battle, Dr. Lakshmi. We're evolving. The architects didn't just leave us weapons, they left us a path to the stars. But first, we have to prove we're ready to walk it. The chamber hummed with increasing energy as Reyna and Meridian began their next phase of integration. Above them, the desert stars continued their ancient dance, unaware that beneath the sands of the Atacama, humanity was taking its first steps toward a destiny that would reshape the galaxy. A world awakens. The Global Quantum Institute's command center buzzed with activity as holographic displays showed the progress of sentinel awakenings worldwide. Reyna stood at the center, her transformed presence drawing all eyes. After 3 weeks of integration with Meridian, she moved with fluid grace, quantum energy shimming beneath her skin like northern lights. Moscow station is online, announced Zara Nazari, their network coordinator. Her fingers danced across quantum-enabled interfaces, coordinating data streams from all 12 sites. Dr. Volkov has achieved 82% integration with their sentinel. That makes 8 fully operational pairs. Reyna nodded, feeling the growing strength of the quantum network through her connection with Meridian. Each awakened sentinel added new capabilities to their defense system, but time was running out. The void between Neptune and Uranus grew larger each day, visible only through quantum-enhanced telescopes. "Show me the latest deep space scans," she requested. The main display shifted, revealing the approaching entropy tide, a writhing mass of dark energy that devoured light itself. Their vessels, if they could be called that, resembled black crystalline structures that defied traditional physics. Dr. Lakshmi entered the command center, accompanied by Jun Hayashi, the marine biologist who had bonded with the Pacific Sentinel. His eyes glowed with the same ethereal light as Reyna's, marking him as one of the transformed. "The deep-sea quantum barrier is ready," Jun reported, his voice carrying echoes of his sentinel's harmonics. "When they come, they won't be able to use Earth's oceans as entry points. They'll try the poles first," Reyna said, knowledge flowing from her merger with Meridian. "The entropy tide seeks the paths of least resistance between dimensional barriers. Dr. Kumar's sentinel in Antarctica has already detected quantum fluctuations in the magnetosphere." The room fell silent as new data flashed across their screens. The void had accelerated, covering the distance to Saturn in a matter of hours. Their enemy was no longer hiding its approach. "All sentinel pairs, prepare for emergency protocols," Reyna commanded, her voice carrying through the quantum network to all 12 sites. "This isn't a drill. We estimate first contact in less than 72 hours. She felt the other sentinels respond, their combined consciousness forming a lattice of pure energy around the planet. Through their shared link, she could sense their determination, their fear, and their resolve. These were no longer just scientists and researchers, they were Earth's first line of defense. "Meridian," she called internally, "show them what we're facing." The holographic display expanded, filling the command center with a three-dimensional recreation of humanity's first encounter with the entropy tide. The images came from the architect's own records, crystalline ships descending on worlds, consuming all energy until only lifeless husks remained. "But we have something they didn't expect," Reyna continued, her voice steady. "The architects didn't just give us technology, they gave us understanding. The entropy tide feeds on quantum energy, but they've never encountered beings who could manipulate it at its source." June stepped forward, his Pacific Sentinel projecting possibilities through the network. The deep-sea cores could generate a resonance wave, disrupting their dimensional tunneling. And the polar sentinels could invert their energy signature, added Dr. Kumar through the quantum link. Turn their own feeding process against them. Reyna felt Meridian's approval as the plan took shape. This was why the architects had chosen humans, not just for their ability to bond with the sentinels, but for their capacity to innovate, to find solutions where none seemed possible. The command center transformed into a war room as preparations accelerated. Teams coordinated worldwide, positioning quantum amplifiers at strategic points. The remaining unpaired sentinels worked desperately with their chosen humans to complete the integration process. Through it all, Reyna felt the weight of leadership settling on her shoulders. She had been first, and that made her their guide into this new era. The quantum energy flowing through her body no longer felt alien, it was part of her now, as natural as breathing. "Dr. Lakshmi," she called, "activate the global warning system. All military and civilian authorities need to be prepared for what's coming. When the entropy tide arrives, the sky itself will change." As alerts began flashing across screens worldwide, Reyna closed her eyes and fully opened herself to the Sentinel network. 12 points of light pulsed in harmony, their power growing with each synchronized beat. Earth was about to face its greatest test, but they would meet it as something new, not just human, not just machine, but a perfect synthesis of both. The void between the planets grew larger, and humanity prepared for a battle that would determine not just their survival, but their place in the cosmos. The light within. The sky turned black at noon. Not the darkness of an eclipse or storm, but an absolute void that consumed light itself. The entropy tide had arrived, their crystalline ships descending through Earth's upper atmosphere like shards of darkness against the stars. In the Quantum Command Center, Reyna stood with the other Sentinel-bonded humans, their combined energy illuminating the room with ethereal blue light. Through their network, they could feel the enemy's hunger, an ancient, endless appetite that had devoured countless worlds. "All Sentinels, activate quantum shields," Reyna commanded, her voice resonating through the network. Meridian's power flowed through her, merging with the other 11 Sentinels to create a lattice of pure energy around the planet. The first attack came like a tidal wave of shadow. Where it touched the quantum shield, reality itself seemed to warp and bend. June's oceanic sentinel responded first, drawing power from the deep-sea cores to reinforce the barrier. "They're testing our defenses," Dr. Kumar reported from Antarctica, his sentinel's data flowing through the network. "Looking for weak points in the dimensional fabric." Reyna felt it too, the entropy tide wasn't just attacking their shields, they were trying to understand them. These beings had never encountered resistance like this, never faced prey that could manipulate quantum energy as they did. Now, Reyna commanded, initiating the sequence they had prepared. All 12 Sentinels synchronized, their energy patterns shifting into perfect harmony. The quantum shield didn't just defend, it began to pulse with a complex rhythm that the architects had discovered eons ago. The effect was immediate. The crystalline ships recoiled, their dark energy patterns disrupted by the resonance. Through the command center's windows, Reyna could see the void above beginning to fragment and scatter. But the entropy tide hadn't survived for millions of years by being predictable. Their ship suddenly changed formation, combining into a massive crystalline structure that focused their power into a single point. The impact shook the planet. Quantum alarms screamed as the shield buckled under the concentrated assault. In London, Prague, and Singapore, Sentinel pairs fought to maintain their connections as the strain threatened to overwhelm their human partners. "We can't match their power directly," Reyna realized, new understanding flowing through her bond with Meridian. "But we don't have to." She opened herself fully to the network, sharing the plan that had formed in their combined consciousness. "They feed on quantum energy, so let's give them more than they can handle." Understanding rippled through the Sentinel network. One by one, the pairs shifted their focus, no longer trying to block the entropy tide's attack. Instead, they began channeling energy directly into the enemy's feeding process. The crystalline ships swelled with power, their dark surfaces beginning to crack with lines of blue light. The entropy tide tried to break off their attack, but it was too late. They had committed too fully to the feeding process, and now that same process would be their undoing. "Push harder," Reyna commanded, feeling the strain in every cell of her transformed body. Around the world, humans and Sentinels worked as one, pouring more and more energy into the overload. The sky erupted in light. The massive crystalline structure shattered, its fragments dissolving into quantum foam as the chain reaction spread through the entropy tide's fleet. Their unified consciousness screamed in frequencies that shook the quantum field itself, and then, silence. Where the void had been, stars now shone with renewed brilliance. The entropy tide had been broken, not just defeated but transformed. Their energy, which had consumed so many worlds, was now scattered through Earth's quantum field, seeding the planet with new possibilities. In the aftermath, Reyna stood with her fellow sentinel-bonded humans, watching the dawn of a new era. They had not just survived, they had evolved. The merger of human consciousness with sentinel technology had opened doors that the architects themselves had only theorized about. The quantum network is stabilizing, Dr. Lakshmi reported, her instruments tracking the changes in Earth's energy field. The residual energy from the entropy tide, it's integrating with the sentinel network, expanding it. Reyna felt it through her bond with Meridian. The network was growing, becoming something more than its creators had envisioned. The architects gave us the tools, she said, but what we build with them will be uniquely human. Around the world, more sentinels were awakening, called into existence by the excess quantum energy. But unlike the original 12, these were born from the merger of human and architect technology, true children of both civilizations. As the sun rose on a transformed Earth, Reyna looked to the stars with new eyes. The entropy tide had been just one of many challenges waiting in the cosmic dark. But humanity had proven itself ready to face those challenges, not just as guardians of their own world, but as protectors of life itself. The quantum network hummed with possibility, carrying humanity's first steps into a future that even the architects couldn't have imagined. Earth had become more than a sanctuary, it was now a beacon, calling to other worlds that might need protection from the dangers that lurked between the stars. And in the desert night, beneath the ancient stars, 12 points of light pulsed in harmony, their song echoing across the quantum field, "We are ready. We are awakened. We are transformed."